Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this evening's board meeting. My name is Julie Reyes, Chairperson of Community Board 8. On our board, we have Sergio Villaverde, who's not present at the moment, Margaret Zello, Joy Campbell, Pivotet, our district manager, Farrah Rubin, and our community coordinator, Hardy Norton. I'd like to thank Inspect 368 for hosting the community board's meeting this evening. And for the record, we have ADA members' approval of Sylvia Alexander, Lee Chong, Bob Kale, Georgia Santiago, Martin Wolfo, Mary Ellen Gibbs, and Chuck Rosa. Any board member who is present on Zoom and does not have ADA excusals, I want to first thank you for attending on Zoom. If you are unable to attend in person, you will be marked absent, but you will be allowed to participate. You won't be allowed to vote, but you will be able to participate. And just a reminder to the board members, during the course of the board meeting, kindly raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged by myself. So we're going to go on with the public gallery session. I want to first call on Camille Approach. Camille, are you available? I know you've pulled into the office and you introduced the resolution to the committee. If you're on Zoom, I'd like to call on you. All the speakers have 3 minutes to speak at the gallery session. Board members may ask questions of speakers during their 3 minutes, but may not engage in discussions or statements. Just ask any questions. Okay, Camille. After Camille, we will have Karen Henry, and then Donald, and then Ryan.
Did I start?
Yes, please do.
Okay, I didn't realize I'd be speaking, but that's great. I'm a member of the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees, a grassroots organization of over 50,000 New York City retirees, founded by Marianne Pizzatola, a retired FDNY EMT worker. For almost 4 years, we've been fighting the city, the Municipal Labor Committee, and sadly, many of our own former unions to preserve the healthcare we were promised in our retirement and that we earned, traditional Medicare, plus a supplemental plan at little to no cost. The current mayor, as well as the previous one, the Municipal Labor Committee, and our former unions want to force us into a for-profit Medicare Advantage plan in order to pay back $1 billion taken from the Health Insurance Stabilization Fund in 2014 and 2018. The funds were used for raises instead of offsetting increases in healthcare costs, which the fund is specifically earmarked to do. Of course, raises are a good thing, but that is not the purpose of the Health Insurance Stabilization Fund. And by the way, there is funding for our healthcare in the city budget since 1967. The cost is less than 1% of the city budget. Medicare Advantage is the default healthcare plan for seniors in Project 2025, as you may know. These plans delay and deny care. They overcharge taxpayers by a minimum of $88 billion per year, up to $140 billion a year. We've been fighting this battle with a two-prong approach, litigation and legislation. Our litigation, has been successful. We've won 11 unanimous victories in the courts, despite the mayor's consistent appeals. However, litigation is expensive, and we have no guarantee the higher courts will support previous decisions. Legislation. Last year, we had a city council bill to protect our healthcare, Intro 1099, and Bronx Community Board 8 was good enough to pass a resolution supporting and endorsing this bill. I cannot thank you enough. Unfortunately, that bill never made it out of committee. So several months ago, council members Chris Marte and Robert Holden introduced a bill, Intro 1096-2024, to preserve our healthcare once and for all. Even if we win the last court case victory at the highest court in New York State, the bill would really protect us. I'm asking this Bronx Community Board number 8 to support our bill once again by passing a resolution to support us and endorsing Intro 1096. Thank you.
Thank you, Camille. Does anyone have any questions for Camille? Okay, we'll go on to our next speaker, Karen Emmerich. Okay, the next speaker then will be Donald Russo.
My name is Don Russo. I'm the current spouse.
If you wait, we'll give you a mic.
It's right next to you, right on the.
On this?
Yep,
Yes.
just hold it.
Thank you.
Okay. My name is Don Russo. I'm a spouse. I'm a retired community professor. Cheryl Russo. My wife is 72. I am 78. We are both covered by traditional Medicare and wrapping out Emblem GHI senior care. I want to put this on a personal basis, so you see how it's affecting people. My wife has Sjogren's disease, which required numerous tests for treatment, and was recently admitted to Lawrence Hospital with a collapsed lung and 5 lower pneumonia. She stayed 7 days in the hospital. Bills were over $125,000. Thanks to our current New York City plan, we paid $300, which was the hospital deductible. Throughout her experience, there were no delays or refusals for testing or treatment, as would have happened if we were under traditional Medicare. I'm sorry, under Medicare Advantage, or known as disadvantage. My wife was promised the current plan of traditional Medicare and the wraparound when she was hired at Queensborough Community College in 1996. She worked full-time for 23 years and retired with these benefits in 2019. Intro 1096 will enter into law that the city must provide all Medicare eligible retirees and their dependents Medicare in at least one Medicare plan equal to or better than the plans available by city retirees as of December 31st, 2021. Since Adams was elected, he has gone twice to court, he's actually gone many more times, but tried to force us into Medicare Advantage. And also pay a $15 copay for each Medicare gap visit. We beat him in court every time on Advantage, not being forced into it, but we are still being charged a $15 copay. And Adam just keeps, going into court against us every time we win. There are hundreds of thousands of New York City retirees and their spouses who are affected by this. Right here in our own district, we have a huge population of retirees from the communities, teachers, reading, and exception. Okay. For own legal fees, and this is very expensive. We fundraise all of this on our. We are not all teachers and professors as people think, but also paraprofessionals, emergency service workers, supply staff, computer techs, and more. Eric Delritz has made the same promise when he was hired as a public school teacher. That's the point. In PCHS, he was a Bonus Committee Council member in her district. But both have not signed the bill to bring 1096 out of committee and to a vote. We need them to do that. We need them to represent us as retirees. We ask for the community board to support the motion being introduced tonight by the aging committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, we'll go on to the next gallery speaker, Laura Fabine-Pineda.
I'm talking. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see some familiar faces. For those of you who do not know, my name is Laura Levine Pinedo. I'm Executive Director of KRVC, which is the Kingsbridge River Delta and Cortland Development Corporation. I am here this evening to discuss, we have put in for a SAPO permit for New York City Small Business Services to bring a mobile unit to service our local business on the corridors of Broadway, from 234th all the way up to the city line, Bailey Avenue, and West 238th Street. So that's why I'm here. I think it's going to be very beneficial to our small businesses to learn of different resources. I'm sure you're all aware, down on 242nd Street where the train is, there is construction that is completely covering 9 of our local businesses. It has now been featured on Fox 5 News. ABC is going to be on CBS tonight. So this is very critical and vital for our small business community. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Laura. Does anyone have any questions or comments? David?
Yes, Laura, I'm just trying to understand.
David, can you use the mic for the people on Zoom? Thank you.
Laura, you said you're looking for a SAPO permit?
You have to hold.
Yeah.
hold
It on? Yes, no,
Very-
sorry. For SAPO permit for the van to be in the many block areas. So where actually is it going to be?
So I did not put the permit in, SBS put it in, they applied, and we're working with NYPD. So it's going to be in front of Jake's Steakhouse, Santa Fe. I believe there's 4 restaurants there, and that's pretty much the only place I could kind of put it logistically close to those businesses that are struggling. As you know, there are, 242nd Street, major traffic, bus stops, traffic island. There's really not many places where I could put this mobile unit. So that's where we decided on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Laura. And that
Thank you
will
so
be-
much.
we discussed this evening as well. Let's see if our last, Karen Hemmerich, is Karen Hemmerich online? Karen, if you're online, please raise your hand and we'll get back to you. We're just gonna move on to the report from the mayor's office. We'll see, Ms. Alina Dodd.
Affairs. Spring Day. I did have some information on legal smoke shops have been closed down. Thousands of, I think about like over 40,000 inspections have been made to other illegal smoke shops. There's been over 8,000 unhoused workers that were on display. They've been moved into shelters. And then over 173 miles of illegal sidewalk shelters were taken down. And the mayor always speaks about safety of visits to New York City and having these city. In addition to that, it's 1,000 officers into the whole system. And I'm sure everyone's essentially leaving and see the others. And it may be now safer. So I hope that's feels the same way. And then there is an initiative that is coming down. It's called Lady Boxes Initiatives. And so every family that has will soon be going home with them. So often people other than that, it's 914-446. And 93 and my email is at City Hall. during the meeting. And if anyone has any questions, can answer.
You mentioned the 1,000 additional police officers that were put into the subway system. Was that police, the National Guard members that were removed to help with the state prisons? Or are they planning to stay there? What's the details?
Well, I'm not really sure about the National Guard, but I do know that all the time, more officers to be and also officers. Yeah, he started as an officer in transit, so I know that's something that he's find out for him. I can see if that was a replacement. You can see an email about it. Anyone else? Okay,
I don't know if this is working.
it's not.
There you go. Here we go. Hey,
Hi.
you mentioned the homeless population being, well, out of the subways and into the shelters. Could you just elaborate on, like, how was that done? Was it done with social workers? Was it done with police officers? Was it voluntary? Was it involuntary? And, maybe you could elaborate.
Going into a shelter is voluntary. Going anywhere, including in the shelter. We are able to tell people to go to the shelter. So the whole thing that we have speaking from the very beginning as well. Anyone that is in shelter has physically went into the shelter. I do know. And they go there and nothing, and then, you know, with the situation, everything be willing to go. So those people that have been close are people that have, they do not want to be on the streets anymore, and they wanted to go into a shelter.
Did they have like homeless outreach people working with the police, or was it the police that just moved them?
No. We have there is homeless outreach, we have a whole department that just goes on to deal with people that are unhoused.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lena, can you call us Sylvia Alexander?
Sylvia Alexander? Oh, yes, Sylvia Alexander, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Is there any way that you can increase the sound from the head table? Because I can't hear a thing. I don't know about the other people, but I'm totally lost.
She wants you to increase the sound for the people at the table, so maybe the microphone's on.
They have a hold on a second. Okay. That was Sylvia, that's it. Okay, I see a hand up also from Sandy with CCRB. Do you have a question, or is it that you want to give information?
Thank you.
I wanted to give information.
Okay, if you can hold on until we get the other speakers then. Does anyone else have a question for Alina Dow from the mayor's office? Raise your hand, please. And CCRB, we'll get that. Let your hand down. Thank you, Sylvia. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so is anyone here from the our president's office? Is Kira Gannon? Alexis? No? Okay, so then we'll go on to the 50th precinct. Is anyone here from the 50th precinct?
Yeah, she's covering up.
Number one, which was.
They got a need for a lunch.
Hey, how you doing? It's Lieutenant Wolvers. You guys calling on me? It's coming a little mumble. It's hard to hear. Excuse me a minute.
Yes, it's just the lieutenant. You could introduce yourself.
Yeah, this is Lieutenant Wolvers, a special ops lieutenant for the 50 precinct. I'm filling in for Captain Pierce today. I'm going to read you guys the 28-day crime numbers. You guys ready?
Yes, you're on.
So we're down overall in index crimes. We're doing really well. For the 28-day period, we're 0 for 0 for murders, 0 for 0 for rapes. For robberies, we're down 16%, 10 versus 12 for the same period last year. For felony assaults is the only index crime that we're actually spiking in. We're up 100%. We have 14 for the 28-day period this year versus 7 last year, but we're doing okay in arrests, which I'll get to in a minute. For burglaries, we're down 38.5%. We have 8 for this period versus 13 for last year, same period. For grand larcenies, we're down 48%, 32 versus 62. And for grand larcenies, we're down 63.9%, 13 versus 36. So, overall, for index crimes, overall, we're at 77 for 28-day period versus 130 the same time last year. When it comes to arrests, for overall arrests, we're up 18%, 151 versus 127. For robberies, we're up 150% in robbery arrests, 10 versus 4. Felony assaults, we're up 240%. So we have 17 felony assault arrests for the period versus 5 last period. So it does kind of help out with our spike in the felony assaults that I just read up top, which was 14 versus 7, which was a spike of 100%, or 240% ahead in arrests. Burglaries were down 28% in arrests, 5 versus 7, but our burglaries were also down 8 versus 13. And grand larceny arrests are up 133%, 7 this period versus 3 last period. But again, we're down in the grand larceny autos, 13 versus 36. So an overall spike of 40 versus 26 for index crime arrests. So we're up 53% in index crime arrests.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Louis, I just want to ask, I know board member normally would ask this, are there any figures on the hate crimes? Any new figures?
Let me see. Hate crimes for the period, we are 0 hate crimes for the period, and it was 0 for the same 28-day period last year. So 0 versus 0.
Thank you. Any questions? Karen? Louis, anyone have a question for you?
Hi, Lieutenant. I have a question about the custody assaults. Can you give the data again and what accounts for that? If you know.
I don't have exact numbers, but our felony assaults are up for it's because of domestic violence, which we stepped up our outreaches by about 100%. We're going to some of the community meetings. I think you saw some of my domestic violence officers at the last community meeting that we had downstairs in the muster room. We're just trying to step up the outreaches, because there's not a whole lot you can do with the felony assaults or the domestic violence assaults are happening inside of apartments. So it's not like you're going to see it from the street or from a patrol car. So we're just trying to do outreaches and reach out to people.
What does the outreach consist of?
We just hand out flyers. If they need to talk to us, we get for Safe Horizons, ACS, the numbers to the local domestic violence offices. If they live in another place, give that precinct, just to let them know what some of the services are out there and what we can do to help.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Lieutenant.
No problem. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you, too. We'll go on to council members' report. We'll start off with Council Member Sanchez, Representative Alva.
So she's gonna be on Zoom.
Okay, so we'll go on to the next Council Member De La Rosa. Is anyone here from Council Member De La Rosa's office? Then we'll go on to the next Council Member, Eric Dinowitz. Any representative from Council Member Dinowitz? Ms. Soto? Hi, come take a mic here. Okay, so we'll wait. When he gets here, we'll put him on. Thank you. We'll come back to Council Member Dinowitz. Okay, so now we'll go to the elected officials report. If anyone is in the Zoom or in the room here from any elected official's office, please raise your hand. We'll start. Excuse me?
Said raise your hand.
Yeah. I'm so used to you being on Zoom. Okay.
I took advantage.
Okay, thank you. Congressman Richie Torres, and we have Mr. Joe McGinnis.
Can you give me the mic? Sure. I get a mic, you don't hear it. And then I put it on. It's on. My name is Joseph McManus. I represent Congressman Torrance. I just want to give a little budget update. Republicans in Congress voted on a budget resolution that proposes cutting up to $880 billion with a B from Medicaid, threatening healthcare coverage for thousands of people. And according to the New York Times this week, what was it last week? 67% of the constituents in New York 15, which is Congressman Torrance, are on Medicaid, losing access to critical health care. Additionally, the Affordable Care Act premiums could go up tremendously, and the food stamps program might be affected. Congressman Torrance remains firm. He will not support any bill that cuts Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, food stamps, and other essential programs that Bronx residents have. Proposing federal funding to ensure that city agencies, organizations in New York 15 are not funding this. At this time, no federal funds allocated to our district are frozen or brought back by the administration. The other thing I put out on the table is a report that the congressman did on Con Edison. What precipitated the report was he found out National Grid in Queens charges 1/3 the price of Con Edison on their gas delivery. And all these papers are there. And they want a 14% increase in electricity and 13.3% in gas. Meanwhile, they're guaranteed 9.2% profit margin. Also on the paper, there's some emergency hotline numbers in case your bill's wrong. Another hotline number to submit commissions. Excuse me. To submit opinions. This opinion line if you are unhappy with the increases, and there's another hotline number there in case you can't afford the bill. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any questions? Excuse me, hold on a second. Angel? Stephen, David, if you have questions, can you hold on? We're gonna have one right here. Angel, if you can use the mic, the only reason we need to use the mic so that people on Zoom can hear the questions and answers. Thank you.
What is UT Torres is compared to national to the other boroughs? Any plan on that? That's a state issue. It's all these, that's what I'm saying. Any proposals, any. Well, we're gonna say this now, and you and everybody here is more important than any elected officials. The 15, 20, 100,000 people got on a hotline to express their opinion that the bill already, the governor's already excited about it because the congressman wrote a letter to the governor saying, you know, about this. More people means more votes, means more elected officials listen. But elected officials on their own are not empowered to do some of this stuff. But the more people, that's why I pointed out this opinion line. That's the actual phone number that you want to call if you're going to be upset over the 13 or 11% increase. I know it's outrageous. My wife was telling me the other day, gas and electric bill was $800. So I know the outrage. The main thing is that people, and I've been going to every community board in this district, all kinds of, you know, community meetings. I keep telling everybody, you're the power behind that. It's a public service commission. They have to record all your answers. They have to submit the answers or, you know, requests or comments. And it supposedly take a year. So they're asking for a raise of January 1st, 2026. If you don't highlight this is what he did. He had a press conference. In that, you can see it was in the Post. The other day, you know, it was in the Times. So if nobody highlights it, nothing happens.
Okay.
So this opinion, the opinion certainly is based on questions to make a move on. Now, the whole idea, it's a public service entity. So there's a public service commission in the state of New York. To get a raise, they have to send out what they think the raise might be, get input from the public about, I think it's been since January 1st to December 31st.
Yeah, that's not.
Question is, National Grid making bids to the other boroughs other than these two boroughs that are on this here.
I was trying to say, that just like your phone, I mean, your internet and some other items and some other utilities. The utility public service commission gives all the different utilities. So it's a public service commission that does it.
So this opinion thing is gonna be based on the questions on the rate or the questions to just get the National Grid in?
No, on the rate increase. They're asking for a rate increase. Like right now, it's price of National Grid. And the excuse or what they were trying to say is that it costs more to lay pipe in Westchester than it does there. I was a pipe fitter my whole life. I can't say the word I want to say, but it's not true. Pipe is pipe. The price of the pipe is the same. Takes the same amount to weld the pipe over here, over there. I worked all around the country, in nukes, oil refineries, everything. Pipe is pipe. It's just something that they could say, sounds good, but it really doesn't fly.
Thank you, and you have the information, you said you left.
I gave a bunch of these.
And whoever doesn't have it,
I had some more over there and what I'll do is send our electronic version, okay?
okay, we'll
So that's everything.
we'll get it out to all the board members. Anyone else have any questions? Thank you, Jules. Okay, Stephen?
You have a microphone?
Just turn it on, please.
Just press the button.
Apologies, which is the number to call to register my.
It says opinion line.
Got it.
Down on the bottom, it says opinion line. It says the big comments of the commission. This receives from state call is 24 hours. And they send, they use that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so you can leave it right there, look. Okay, we're going to go on with the next representative for Senator Gustavo Rivera. We have Sari Torres.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I do not see familiar faces, and some of you might not know me. My name is Sari. I'm the Director of Community Affairs for Senator Rivera. I know that you're used to seeing my colleague Flavia and previously Brent. I'm going to share a quick update, and I noticed I can't add links to a chat. There's no chat, but I'll make sure that we send over the flyers and all the information that I provide today. To continue following updates for the senator, please feel free to sign up for a weekly newsletter. It comes out on every Friday night or the latest Saturday morning. We also have a WhatsApp channel for Spanish updates that folks can follow. I'll make sure that we send over the flyer. 2 months in January, we hosted satellite office hours at the Riverdale Y, and we will continue to do them. This month, we'll be doing Mount Carmel. We continue to host free housing and immigration assistance, along with preparation services for ISCRI and DRE. We will be having a 2025 tax filing information webinar in the coming week. We will also have a baby shower, community baby shower on April 16th, so stay tuned. And lastly, we'll have a shredding event that I'll share more information with. And one thing I did want to highlight, I'm not sure if I'm still on the thing, but we have Know Your Rights palm cards, and I'll share over the form where you can request these. And I know that we distributed a couple within CB8, so if you need more or know someone who might need them, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sari. And the information that you've given this evening, if you haven't emailed it to the office, please do so, we'll share it. Is there anyone here from Senator Senator Robert Jackson's office? No. Okay, we have a representative for Assemblymember Jeffrey Dinowitz, Ms. Gonzalez.
Hello. Not many updates from us, just that we have the free notary service that we have always in the office So come during office hours and we have free notary service. And we are also in the process of planning our shredding events. We don't have specific dates yet, but like always, we will be having those in the spring. So thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker for CCRB, you have some information for the board. If there are any other elected officials, representative, please raise your hand. Otherwise, CCRB is the last speaker. Go ahead, Sandy.
Good evening, everyone. Apologies for not being able to join you in person. My name is Sandy Lariano. I am the Bronx Outreach Coordinator for the Civilian Complaint Review Board, and we are a city agency that investigates, mediates, and administratively prosecutes alleged complaints of misconduct from members of the NYPD. If anyone would like to request a presentation about our agency, feel free to reach out to me at 646-510-0082. Again, that's 646-510-0082. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We just had a member from District Attorney's Office join us. If you can unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Marilex Santana Tavares. I'm the Director of the Community Engagement at the Bronx District Attorney's Office. I'm here on behalf of Jeffrey Pena, who is currently out on vacation. I just wanted to let everyone know that we are, the DA's office is hosting its Women's Re-Entry Resource Fair on March 27th, and we are currently working on our 8th child safety fair that is going to be within the confines of the 4-3. And we also have actively open right now our Youth Advisory Council. So if anyone, any young person that is interested in participating, they can reach out to me. I'm going to put my information in the chat. And if anyone has any questions for me, just let me know. I will be here for the remainder of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Paul Brazilla. Sylvia Alexander.
Sylvia?
Yes, got it.
Debbie,
I hope that everybody
Sorry,
received
Sylvia,
my
hang on.
minutes. I'm sorry.
Sylvia, it's a roll
What?
call. It's a roll call. Hang on for the report.
Oh,
Attendance.
yeah, I am here.
Thank you. Debbie Allen. Absent.
You want me to do the report?
No. Constance Barnes Watson.
Here.
Bob Bender.
Here.
Carol Blake.
Here.
Kelly Buford.
Present.
Joy Campbell Privateer.
Present.
Sebastian Chitolacqui. Lee Chong. Dr. Wayne DeBeetham. Ingrid De Leon.
Here.
Margaret Della present. Johanna Edmondson.
Here.
Nicholas Fazio. Stephen.
Present.
David Gelman.
Present.
Mary Ellen Gibbs.
Present.
Dr. Julia Gomez. Edward Green.
Present.
Emily Hausman.
Here.
Rashida Hilliard. Barbara Kale.
Present.
Rabbi Bob Kaplan. Josh Land.
Here.
Oscar Martinez.
Present.
Darrell Merdler.
He's on Zoom.
Yeah. Chuck?
He's present.
Omar Murray. And he's on Zoom. Angel Ortega. Julie Reyes.
Present.
Adriana Rivera. Daniel Rowan.
Here.
Georgia Santiago. Yes. Okay. Ramdat Singh.
Present.
Jessica Sosa. Here. Laura Spalter.
He's here.
Cesar Tabar Acosta.
Present.
Jill Towns. Deborah Travis.
Present.
Sergio Villaverde. Kevin Wade. Karen Walker. Here. Martin Wolfoff.
Here. Hello, it's Myrtla. I'm here. Farah, did you hear me?
Chuck, you're present. We have you. Okay, quorum. We have quorum. So we will go on to approval of the board minutes for February 11th, 2025. Any discussions on the minutes, the board minutes? Can make a motion, anyone make a motion to the minutes? Okay. Second, okay, can I abstain? Any opposed? Okay, minutes approved. Discussion on the executive committee minutes of February 5th. Any discussion? No discussion, so we will move on to the treasurer's report.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. This is the March 2024 Treasurer's Report, which differs from February's report, where we've spent down $2,780, directing your attention to OTPS. There's now $10,445 left. And the breakout for the 2780, we spent just over $1,000. Final payment to Jalen and also Zoom under code 400, code 600. The cleaning bill was $1,750, so that accounts for the extra expenditures. 1.2 budget mod, 1.3 zero requested, zero encumbered. And 1.4, we now have 2,065 left for rent and energy. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Brenda?
Yeah, yeah, Joyce, I'm noticing that both personal services and not code 100 supplies, we have significant amounts of money.
You gotta turn it on, turn it off.
Okay. All right, take two. With regard to both personal services and also object 100, which is supplies, we have significant amounts of money remaining. And, you know, it's only a few more months left in the fiscal year. So I'm just wondering, are we going to be left with excess money in both of those object codes?
My understanding is what's not known is moved, as well as rather, so we'll do our best to spend down. I don't know if any committees have projects that they want. Maybe Farah can spend it down, charge this for the board. But if we don't use it, we'll lose it.
No, I understand. Yeah.
I just want to add to that. Now it's on, okay. I just want to say that, we will look, bring it down. One of the things that we have been discussing is to try to get Jalen back as well part-time. So if we have money, we're actually going to meet on that and discuss. We're going to look at our budget, see what we need, because we have been doing a lot of outdoor events and there are supplies that we need to have on hand. We also are looking to also have Jalen back part-time to help out with the office. My goal is to not have any money left. That's my personal goal.
And yes, I've been holding off on spending it early this year. We have used all of our tchotchkes for our events. And we have asked to attend the games and events like the Pride event is coming, and we do need to order supplies, which basically I can get all the money from that, right? It will be used.
Right, thank you. Thank you all.
Any other questions? Okay, so then we'll go on to the chair's report. The community conference that we had targeted for this month naturally did not happen, so we are still looking to hold the event, hopefully in April, and it will be an informational for the public. Farah's still working on getting that together. As far as the community board is concerned, I know we touched on it at the exec meeting. Quite a few of the board members will be leaving, term limited within 2027 and 2028. Farah and I are meeting with Borough President's office in a few weeks, and we'll have more information as to the logistics of that, since quite a few members are leaving in 2027, and the office will, or this office, and also Farah will let everyone know if you're leaving the first group. And then the rest of my report is just basically advising that we will be giving support to the Van Cortlandt Park Alliance with their annual springtime shindig being held on May 15th. And also I was invited to join Van Cortlandt Park Alliance to join their Legacy Council, which is part of the reimagining of the enslaved African burial ground at Van Cortlandt Park. They'll be meeting monthly. I'll have more to say once we have our first meeting. That's it for my report. I would like to say, though, that the board membership, since there are term limits, I invite all the board members who will be remaining, many of the new ones, to start getting more involved in committees and to see if there's any committee that you may want to chair one day. Also, Karen and Jill, they're looking at committee structures and trying to get more people to be more involved. If you have any suggestions on committee structures of the board, please reach out to both Jill and Karen. And in regards to board membership, we have another 2 members who are leaving us, regretfully, and I just want to give them a few words. I want to give them the opportunity to have a few words. One board member has been a member for quite a few years, has been the chair of the Traffic and Transportation Committee, and has been involved in so many other areas of the board. And I appreciate everything that you've done, Kelly, for the board. And our second member is Pastor Martinez, who very new to the board. In the first meeting, you stepped up and you took reins for the Aging Committee. And now you're the economics chair. So I just want to give Kelly a few words and then Oscar.
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see everyone's faces. And as Julie mentioned, I decided not to renew my appointment for the board. It has been a tremendous honor to serve this community and the community board. And I look forward to continuing to be a part of the community and to working with each of you just in a different capacity, just as a normal community member, but I am always available to all of the board members, particularly the newer members who would like to receive some institutional knowledge. I've promised the office that I would make myself available, particularly to the committees that I have served. And I just look forward to resting for a few months and know that my presence away from you in the room does not mean that I am away from you. I will always be connected to the community board, and I thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Oscar?
I wouldn't say it's the close of a book, it's more of the end of a chapter. And in regards to me not reapplying, I thankfully got a promotion at work. And that needs special attention just because the project that I'm working on, if anyone doesn't know, you can buy it on Amazon. So it's launching and it's a lot of things going on. So to not do the board of the service, I decided to not reapply at this current moment, but that doesn't mean that I'm completely done. Once this is taken care of, I will be back. So you're not losing me. I'll still be involved when it comes to community outreach and a couple of different things, especially regarding the kids from the football team And I'll also be able to push anyone who needs me for anything other than anything. That's all.
Thank you, Oscar. Thank you both, and we definitely will be in touch, and remember, even those being term limited out, as Farah always reminds us, after a year, you can come back. And we definitely will be looking for you with your football team, you know. Thank you both. Okay, we'll go on to district manager's report, Farah.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Women's History Month. Now that FY 2026 Community District Needs Statement has officially been released, if any committees would like to follow up on the agency responses, you can always reach out to the office to connect with the agency. I held my monthly district service cabinet meeting on March 4th, and my next meeting will be on April 1st. I have been following up with the school construction authority at my monthly DRC about the timeline for the paving project on Tibbet Avenue right here on this campus. The current status is that they are waiting the DEP storm pollution prevention plan. I have asked if they can do any temporary repairs in the meantime for the giant holes on the street. I am working with the Division of School Facilities who went to the site on Monday, yesterday, and they're investigating this issue and viable temporary repairs while the start of Tibbet Avenue road repaving. So I'm excited at least to have a response on that. I attended the Bronxboro Southwest Cabinet meeting, which had presentations from DC Department of City Planning on review of the layout and budget submissions, and also a presentation on flooding. I also attended a press conference this week with Councilman Dinowitz, Assemblyman Dinowitz, and Laura Spalter was there. They are requesting DOT take action, add more traffic safety measures for the stop signs to the North Riverdale corridor, from West 259 to West 263rd Street. There was a recent hit and run where a child was injured. Speeding is an issue in this area, and DOT has denied this request in the past. I recently also attended a legislative breakfast on the future of the Harlem River hosted by Con Edison and the Council for Environmental Quality. It was regarding the daylighting of Tibbetts Brook and Harlem River Greenway. There was discussions on community vision for the Harlem River, its waterfronts, and its watershed. I sent the board, the Bronxboro president's Bronxboro report, and I printed up flyers for everyone on the 2025 State of the Borough to go held March 20th at Roman College from 5 to 8. You need to always be to attend, and the flyers, Dante has the flyers. Also, community board applications have been extended by the Borough President's Office. The deadline is November 1st. The application to apply is on the President's website and also on its website. Con Edison is sending an update on the gas main work being done in the area of 246th Street, 254th Street through North Riverdale. I should have those final details and should begin next week. Our office has been contacted to resolve a 4-day service outage for Optimum Maltese customers at the River Spring. 148 seniors are affected. Our office is working with Optimum to resolve the issue. This outage is related to a Con Ed pole farm over the weekend. The area is not safe to access and awaiting the clearance from Con Ed. So in case you hear of anything, that is the answer we were given. I attended a monthly working group on the future of community boards with all citywide district managers, and we're organizing a board development workshop for the next exec board meeting of the Civic Engagement Commission to talk on topics of parliamentary procedures and parliamentary procedures. This will entail a combination on holding effective meetings and use of motions. We have a few workshops that are very useful for future development. I'm hoping to organize one in the future for newer members, but all members can benefit from this, all members can attend. Lastly, I printed the April meetings calendar for everyone. You can get a copy from Monday up front. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, I've had some questions asked of me. What is the current status on the renaming of across the street for Jimmy Packus?
He put here on Zoom, I was given the status of the joint, I guess. The status is that they vetted the application. They need more information, more community service for the whole community, in order for it to go. So we will reach out to the family organize, they can resell the information, but if they don't want to give them. You have to show community involvement, community service. He was a wonderful person, had a wonderful business, helped people out with the business. They want to see more that he did for the economy outside of the business.
Better than Nick and I wrote mentioning the article in the Riverdale Press.
Whatever was given was sent to, yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, thank you, Farah. Okay, we'll go on to the committee reports. Steve and Jessica, we're going to go on to the committee reports. We'll start with aging. Mary Ellen.
Trying to unmute, there I am. Hi, everybody. You have the resolution in front of you. And this resolution was from last year and it passed unanimously before the committee last month. And it's when you start a job and you offered like packages and you sign a contract, you're gonna get your benefits when you retire. So you're signing a contract to secure your benefits, you know, and it's not fair what they're trying to do is to take them away and give them something totally different than what they signed up for. To me, a contract is a contract. So if everybody read this resolution and is want to have a discussion, please go ahead now.
Okay, does anyone have any discussions on the resolution that was submitted from the Aging Committee? This is the resolution supporting Intro 1096-2024. This resolution had been submitted previously, not this resolution, but the same subject, back in November 2023. The Chair, Oscar Martinez, introduced the bill and it was supported by the community board. The bill is reintroduced into council, so we just have a different number, but it's pretty much the same. Was there any discussions on this? Yes. Jill and then Rhonda. Oh. Okay, so Jill, Bob, then Rhonda. Thank you, Rhonda.
I don't know about last year's resolution, but as I look at this, and read this, it seems like it's the subject of current litigation, ongoing litigation. So.
Mary Ellen?
It's hard to hear.
Okay. The question from Jill was that she believes that this is in litigation. The issue is before the courts in litigation.
Yes, it was in litigation. There's a bunch of different outcomes. But I'm not really sure exactly what they are, but I'm hoping that you guys support this because, you know, people are gonna lose their, you know, benefits in retirement.
And maybe I'll, if you don't mind, Marty, I'll pass this on to you. Being with LRE, you contacted, the agency in regards to working on this or not. Marty, would you mind discussing that portion of the Jill's question? Is this still in litigation?
Yes, the first speaker tonight indicated that there were 11 cases brought before the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals, and the retiree won every one of them. The mayor seems to have lots of money to appeal and keep on going, but unfortunately, the retirees do not. And the city council has chosen not to intervene. They're waiting for the lawsuits to continue and continue. It's kind of unfair. In addition, I know that the governor is now being impugned. That's the wrong word. Is being asked to put into the our executive report on the state to include an attempt to minimize or underfund retirement monies to the benefit of the city, but not to the benefit of the employees and retirees.
You gotta be louder on the mic.
Okay, so if we cannot just scream out one, thank you, Jessica, but let's not scream out. And then Jill's question was, is this ongoing litigation?
And the reason I'm asking that question is probably the same reason the council's taking the position they're taking. Okay, as a city agency, we're being asked to have a position on a resolution that sounds like it's contrary to the mayor's position and or the corporation council's. There's something wrong with that picture.
Okay. So the next person is Bob Bender.
Yeah, I just wanted to pass something along that Marty actually mentioned at the executive committee meeting. I know that there are several people on the board, myself included, who either are covered under this retiree plan or work for the city and will be covered under this retiree plan. We are able to vote on this issue. It is not a conflict. You don't have to abstain because this affects tens of thousands and possibly over 100,000 people. So it's not specific to any one of us. I just wanted to be sure everyone was aware of that before we take the vote.
Thank you, Bob. Rhonda? Oh, that was your point. Okay, then Stephen?
My understanding is that, just I looked it up just because I didn't have the statistic, that, it was just last year that, the New York State Court of Appeals, which is the highest court, did issue a ruling that the city had to continue to offer the original healthcare options. Now, that.
I'm muted.
That's very unlikely that they would take these. That's not to say that there isn't that's a situation there. And I want to second what you said, that community groups do not care. We have our own independent views and can express them on any subject. But other than questions like people running for office.
Okay. Any other questions? Margaret?
I would just say that the thing I said back in 2023 or 2024 is that this is a common practice that the city is taking. So I think that people need to hold the line to protect what was promised to city employees and hopefully continue to hold the line for other individuals whose benefits are on the line as well.
Thank you. I just want to say that people on Zoom who have their hands up at this portion of the meeting, only board members are allowed to speak. Laura? And in the room, because I can't see far, but someone in the back is raising their hand. This is only for the board members.
I just want to say that the purpose of the resolution is so that the city council and others hear our voice. And it's the only way that our voice can be heard. Thank you.
Any other discussions on this? Okay, so I make a motion to, oh, we don't need a motion, came from committee, so discussions are over, so we'll take a vote on this. Anyone oppose this resolution? Any abstentions? One abstention, David and Jill. On Zoom, if you have any abstentions or opposed, raise your hand. Seeing none, then the resolution is passed. Mary Ellen, do you have anything else for your report?
We had a really good meeting last month with Department of Finance. We talked about SCREE, DREE, and other financial opportunities for older adults. We're not gonna have a meeting in March, but we will be having a meeting in April, strictly dedicated to the budget.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Okay, we're gonna
Thank
go
you.
on to, we're gonna go on to economics and then education. Economics.
We had a very fruitful meeting on Tuesday. We had a very bright creator join us named Royce. He was doing, many of my results. We had a meeting at Blackstone Bar and Grill. Obviously, there's a resolution from Blackstone Bar and Grill in which they were submitting an application for outdoor dining and sidewalk cafe. It's a 12 by 12 4-table, 8-seat section on the street. So they already have 2 tables on the sidewalk. So this would be on the street, effectively taking 1 parking spot in front. And the Economic Development Committee unanimously voted to approve this. We do have to vote on this, right?
Yes.
Motion to vote, yes.
Okay, so then, okay. Okay, so the resolution, everyone received the resolution? Any discussions on the resolution? No one on Zoom? Okay, is anyone opposed the resolution? Abstentions? Any abstentions, any opposed? If not, then the resolution passes. Oscar?
Okay, and I have to bring the resolution from the floor.
So we'll make a motion to amend the agenda so that Oscar can bring a resolution from the floor, the resolution that our speaker spoke of earlier. Okay, are we clear? Round back seconds. Okay, anyone opposed? Abstains? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so everyone heard about the resolution earlier, but it's basically a SAPO application for SBS to have a mobile bus at Santa Fe Restaurant that's at 6025 Broadway. And they're going to hand out information and resources to local businesses. And yes, the applicant requested to restrict parking 3 or 4 spots for the mobile bus to park in front of the business for Tuesday, March 18th, from 2 to 6:30 p.m. and there will be no street closure.
Do you want me to read the resolution?
Oh, if you want to.
I mean, does everyone need it to be read?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Whereas Small Business Services has applied for a SAPO application to bring a bus to Santa Fe Restaurant, 6025 Broadway.
information and resources to the local businesses. Whereas Small Business Services with KRNC applicant has applied to obtain a street activity permit in connection with its mobile bus to be put on the curbside of 602 North on Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. Whereas the applicant requested to restrict parking of 3 2-4 spots for all bus in front of 602 2025 p.m. to 6:09 p.m. Street closure. Issuance of a permit to SLC parking restriction on 602 Broadway, Bronx North, Tuesday, March 18th, 2016.
Motion to approve.
Okay. Any abstentions? Any opposed? No one also? Okay, so it passes. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll say it now. Thank every each and one of you. Zoom, for helping me throughout these short 2 years. And I've learned a lot from many of you, and it's been a wonderful time thus far. Like I said, it's not the end of the book, it's just the end of the chapter. And I really, really want to give everyone my gratitude for everything that you've done, and every little tidbit conversation has meant a lot to me, not only in the community, but as an individual in the grand scheme of things. So thank you.
Thank you, Austin. And good luck to you. We'll see you in a year. Okay. The next is education. After education is environment and sanitation. Sylvia?
Yes, I apologize that my minutes were so late. I sent them today. I hope that everybody has read them, and if there were any questions on anything, I'd be happy to answer them. We had a great meeting on February 25th. We had 2 people from the community who were educators and retired bring up the question of the president dismantling the federal education department. We know that that is something that is connected to special ed. It's connected to the Pell Grant. It's connected to Title I, and many more that I'm not even sure about at point, but I do know that there are other programs. They were very concerned about it, and I know that there is a movement amongst parents and teachers against that move. It had Congress, so the president can't just do an executive order and make it happen. So that's a good fail-safe. It was a very active and a very rewarding conversation, and I'm very happy that it came up. Other than that, I'm working very closely with the principals on the budget items that they need for their schools, and I'll have my meeting in March. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Sylvia. Any questions? No questions. We'll move on to environment and sanitation and home health and hospitals.
Our next meeting is next week, Wednesday, March 18th. DCEQ and Navy DEP will attend to talk about Harlem water quality standard changes and uniform stormwater rule implementations. So fun. And budget, we'll talk about the budget, talk about the responses to our budget request from last year. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ben. Any questions for Daniel? Okay, being none, we'll go on to health and hospitals. Anyone here to report for health and hospitals? Move on to housing. Rashida?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keita Hilliard, Chair of Housing. So we had our last meeting on Monday, February 24th at the committee office. Our guest speaker was Valerie Corbett from New York City Accelerator. At that meeting, Valerie spoke about Local Law 97 and businesses, well, the mandate that businesses and buildings over 25,000 square feet need to make it into cutting carbon emissions by 2030. One of the main questions there was, how can we achieve this goal without being unduly burdened economically? And so that the response to that was, we received about 20,000 links to go from New York City Accelerator. You can read the minutes. We also discussed the budget. And so since we've been having our guest speakers come and receiving a lot of information, the goal for the next meeting, which is March 24th, is to regroup and go over the things that we've spoken about, discuss it again, and then move forward April and June's meetings, because May 26th is Memorial Day, so I'm letting you know we're not having a meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashida. Ed? Ed has a question for you, Rashida.
Hey, Rashida, I know it was in the last month or the month before, Councilman Salamanca came here and he mentioned that he had received a lot of blowback from his constituents about local law. He also mentioned something about the governor possibly rolling back some of the provisions of this. Was that brought up at all, or is this a pipe dream, or is this something that can actually happen?
Actually, that was brought up, and in fact, what was said was that the expectation is that we'll get it done by 2030. We understand that buildings, for example, some of the buildings here are pre-war, and maybe even like my building was built in 1960. So we're not really ready for electrification, which is what the goal is. So they talked about, Accelerator knows about this, and so that's a goal, but we understand that we can have goals and maybe we won't necessarily reach them. But we would like to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jessica?
I was at the meeting and it was very, very insightful. I know the minutes can be overwhelming, but it's so good that I think it could actually be used as a guide, similar to the housing guide that we were developing last year, as a guide to Local Law 97. Something that I do want to emphasize is that what New York, the NYC Accelerator was saying is that every single building in our district is assigned an account manager from NYC Accelerator. So if you send them an email, they'll tell you who your account manager is, and that's gonna be the person that's gonna report on how good of an effort your housing complex or whatever has been making towards Local Law 97. And that account manager is essentially gonna be saying whether or not you're trying to support sustainability or you're not. So I advise everybody to find out who your Accelerator account manager is. They now work for you to help you understand how to navigate this law. And whether or not to also report whether or not this needs to be delayed or any fines need to be delayed, because your building is just not meant for it, we're just not there. And so just, I urge everyone to reach out and find out who your account manager is at the New York Accelerator, and find out, they'll know more about your building than your own board will tell you. So, I just wanna say that.
Thank you, Jessica. Rashida?
Yes, thank you, Jessica. To add to that, you can actually get buildings address into this particular link, and you'll find out whether you'll be fine. So I actually did it when I went home, and I found out that in the future, like maybe 2027, my building could possibly be fined like $20,000 because of our we have like a D rating or whatever. So you can find that stuff out in advance. And so maybe, if you know this, then you can talk to your whomever. Now, I'm actually on the board of my building, so I brought it up. But you can actually talk to whoever and maybe say, this is what's happening. How can we, rectify this before 2027?
Thank you. Okay, oh, Deborah has a question?
Well, I just wanted to add, I'm also on the board of the building, and we used NYC Accelerator they're very, very helpful if you're on the board or if you're part of kind of the owners of the building or guiding you. So it's more than just speaking about how well you're doing or whether you're actually working towards these goals. They were able to, I was able to talk to them, tell them about the kinds of projects we were interested in, and they guided us towards government money for doing different studies so we could determine what the steps would be ideally for our building and to try to start making a plan. And so I can't really recommend them more. They were really, really helpful. There's a lot of different programs out there, and they helped us kind of know which ones to focus on, where the money would be for a building of our size, our income level, and that kind of thing. So NYC Accelerator is great. You have to really be like on the board of the building, and you should just be on the board of the building. It's a great way to know what's going on and to really try to direct the governance of your building before it gets really slammed with finance.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to land use. Chuck?
Yeah. Madam Chairman, I have 4 matters, but let me take 2 of them, put them together as administrative. We have had, yet again, the problem and claims concerning the requirement that before an application, either for SNAD or for a zoning change or the like, there is a requirement published in our bylaws, or really in our rules. It's online. It says, before you have the application and once you have it filed, you must serve notice of the hearing before this board on the neighbors within 400 feet of the site. And time and again, we get the complaint that the applicant hasn't done so. And time and again, we get all sorts of weird excuses. At the last meeting of the board, we had a claim that they had done it, everybody was happy, except I happen to live there, and I didn't get notice. But put that aside, a neighbor next door did not get the notice, and we have since been notified. So what I would like to do is to ask the office, and they are superb in their handling of these things, whenever an application comes in that will require the notice to nearby owners, the 400 feet, that they advise the people we're not accepting the filing without proof of mailing. You have to give us proof that you have actually mailed it to the people within 400 feet. Otherwise, we will not accept your application. And it will be, unless you instruct me otherwise, I will not calendar any application. I don't care what the application is. Unless, if it requires a service, I will not hear it and put it on the land use committee calendar absent proof that they have made that requisite service. Is there any objection to that? Hearing none, let me go to the second issue that is important. It is SNAD again. It is SNAD again. We have had virtually at every meeting this year an indication either that city planning has no interest in pursuing or enforcing SNAD, and that the building department has reverted to a practice that caused me as building commissioner to put 36 of them in jail. And that is, they don't see violations all of a sudden. Wise, but can I go on? Today, Farah and I found another instance where the building department says there are no violations there. We had photographs that showed the exact abuse of SNAD, but the building inspector suddenly didn't see it. So what I would like to do, Farah has called that to the attention of the department. What I would like to do is the following: either on this occasion or the next time this happens, I would like to get hold of the Commissioner of Investigations and or the District Attorney of Bronx County and ask them to do a review. This stinks. I mean, here was a photograph that they claim, that the people claimed there had been no removal of vegetation on the SNAD site, and there had been no change in topography. The photograph shows it. In both instances, the vegetation has gone from one picture to the next, and a steep hill has been cut into in the next picture, and there's no permit to do that. So unless you instruct me otherwise, I think it is time that we send this either to the DA or to the Commissioner of Investigations. This stinks.
Any comments? Okay, Chuck, I have Stephen and then David.
Microphone.
Okay. Let me go on. I'm
Chuck,
sorry.
We have Stephen and then David with the comments.
I'm sorry.
I think that's an excellent idea. I also think that our city council person should be, briefed about this as soon as possible. Because if this is something that's happening routinely, then maybe the city council needs to hold a hearing with the police commissioner answering questions about it.
Now, I know Marcus is not the head of that committee, he's not the chair of the particular committee, but he can maybe make things happen.
My apologies, Madam Chair. The sound volume or whatever it is, people are either not talking into the mic or there's something wrong. The majority of the people, including these last two speakers, couldn't understand a word they said.
Stephen, can you try it now? Okay.
It's not Chuck.
Okay. We'll revise you offline as well, Chuck. David? Yeah. I think you have your hands up. Oh, okay. And any other comments? Okay, go ahead, Chuck.
All right. Now let me go on to substantive issues. We have had for some time a significant problem which Marty has dealt with as best he can concerning the area around Sedgwick Avenue and where there have been constructions going on. I'd like to turn to Marty and have him give his report, and then I'd like to get back to you on this same issue. Marty, if you don't mind, Madam Chair.
Well, just note that we don't, apparently, the Innovative, which is the name of the construction outfit. Innovative, which is the construction entity, apparently doesn't like dealing with its neighbors. And so factor after factor has come up where the neighbors have been disturbed. At this point, we're talking about jackhammering. We're talking about construction time. We never got a request for an extension of time, but they're now working on Saturdays also, which is not appropriate without approval of a community board. So there's a number of issues coming up, which make it very difficult for the neighbors. We have tried to keep on top of it, but we have a very recalcitrant developer who just doesn't want to deal with us on many issues. And I'll leave it go with there.
Okay, thank you, Marty. Chuck, you want to wrap it up?
Madam Chair, I'd like to focus on an issue that is complicated. I'd like to raise it tonight I'm going to raise it at the next meeting of land use, and then I'm going to raise it at the next meeting of this board, and I want people to think about it. Well over 50 years ago, when I was actively and full-time employee of the city of New York, there was created by the late Harold Burns, who was then the building commissioner, and later became a distinguished jurist, a list that is now famous as the 100 worst land. Can you hear me? I hope I'm speaking clearly enough. It served a purpose. It called attention, A, to problems, and B, to people who didn't give a damn. We have that problem repeatedly with certain developers who do not pay attention and do not care what you say. They have their contacts in one or another agency, and those contacts help them navigate that situation. What I would propose to do is to create in land use an award of shame for the 5 worst developer or construction companies in the community. Those who persist in using optimum noise to get people really upset when they want to sleep on a Saturday and work illegally. Those who do the kinds of things that Marty has been talking about. And it seems to me there is time that somebody speaks for the homeowner, somebody speaks for the apartment dweller, somebody speaks for the residents and says, enough. If you can't do your job as city officials, get the hell out. And so, Madam Chair, I wanted to alert the members of the board that that is going to start to come through. I am going to press it. You can obviously give good arguments not to do it, and you can obviously turn it down. But it is high time. It's happening all the time and getting worse.
Okay, Chuck, we have a question from Josh.
And so the last matter, if I may, unless you
I
have
have a comment from Josh here.
I don't think it's going to be the worst possible awards. I don't think that this among the spirit of, success and community there.
Okay, Chuck, did you hear?
No.
It's not advisable to give out the worst awards for the worst. So let's just move on from that, and we could discuss that at exec, bring it further for discussion at exec. This isn't really the place to have this, that type of discussion, I don't think, unless anyone disagrees. Okay, so Chuck, anything else on your report?
Yes, I just want to give, and I think Marty wanted something on his report. I just wanted to tell you, one of the issues that I think everybody needs to focus on is something that came up in the course of visitation. As you know, there is a development going on down there that contemplates some 300 apartments in place of the old Visitation Church. There is a section in the law or the regulations pertaining to, quote, affordable, unquote, housing in the city of New York. And if somebody can define for me in realistic terms what is affordable housing as far as the city of New York is concerned, it'll be the first time I've gotten that definition in any cognizable fashion. That provision is that in the event certain claims are sought to be asserted for certain benefits, a 15% reservation for the apartments can be made for those who were formerly, not now, formerly, people who had homeless housing. Now, that has confused a number of people in large measure because of an article in the Riverdale Press, which was just dead wrong. It suggested that the building down there is going to be homeless housing. It's not. People who had once been in homeless shelters and who have qualified to move out of that orbit and pay the rent that everybody else does and the like will now be eligible in the first slot. We are all entitled to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and otherwise. And so that is the theory of the change. I just want people to know it and so that they are not confused going forward.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, thanks, Chuck. So we're going to move on.
First Monday of April is our next meeting.
At 7 or 7:30?
Excuse me, Chuck, don't you have a resolution concerning the, oh no, sorry, never mind. You discussed it, never mind.
The land use meeting is April 7th at 7 p.m. at the board office. Thank you. Marty, law, rules, and ethics?
Yeah, I'll keep this extremely brief. I just want to reiterate something said earlier by a number of people. Those of you who are thinking about or should be considering which committees you want to be on in the future, just note and repeat that with term limits, many of us will not be around in a couple of years. And so chairmanships ought to be considered. And so places you believe you might like to lead or be part of, some of the chairpersons will not be around by term limits. So I raise that for your consideration and note that it's important to have people who are trained and know what the committees are doing for transition purposes. I'm done.
Thank you, Marty. Parks and Recreation, Zed, and then Public Safety.
Good evening, everyone. The last Parks Committee meeting, we discussed the Van Cortlandt Park Master Plan. It's a 20-year plan that originally was released a little over 10 years ago. Kat Barone and Stephanie Ehrlich made a really good presentation. So I encourage you, if you're at all interested in Van Cortlandt Park, to check it out. They're going to be using that as kind of a basis to next look forward and identify priorities for future capital projects. Our next, I also wanted to make sure to highlight that on March 25th, on March 25th, the Parks Department will be having a community input session for Fort Independence Playground. The Fort Independence Playground is the recipient of Community Parks Initiative funds, and the playground will be rebuilt starting in the next year. And so if you have ideas or input for that playground, I totally suggest you go to the parks website and sign up or contact the board office and we can get you registered. It's at 6 p.m. March 25th. Next Parks Committee meeting is March 26th at 7 p.m. Wave Hill, I believe, will be presenting on their new meadow that they're designing.
Do what they're designing?
Meadow.
Oh.
Any other questions? Thank you, Deb. Public Safety?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Okay, so the Public Safety Committee, we had 5 resolutions. We had 4 renewal SLA renewals and 1 new application. 1 renewal was for Buffalo Wild Wings at 193 West 237th Street. The next was Smithburg, 1485 at 193 West 237th Street. Also, we had great performances, artists as Waitresses Inc. at Wave and Waveville Incorporated at 675 West 252nd Street. And we had E&K's Grill Inc. at 174 West 231st Street. All liquor licenses except for Smash Burger, which is a wine, beer, and cider. We also had a new application, wine, beer, and cider for Shake Shack, which is gonna be at 5510 Broadway. And they signed it to waive closing for the first year of operation. As far as the renewals are concerned, 50th precinct had no issues, nothing significant, no significant disturbances in those locations. And the Public Safety Committee voted unanimously to the application, so I'm going to propose that we vote as a block for in the interest of time.
Thank you. Okay, any discussions on any of the resolutions? Okay, so any objections? Abstentions? Approved. Thank you.
Okay, so our next Public Safety Committee meeting is going to be Tuesday, March 18th. That's next Tuesday at 7 p.m. It's a meeting at the 50th precinct, in person only because there's no recording premises. And I just wanted to thank Kelly and Oscar for their service, and it was really nice meeting you guys. I wish you guys the best of luck, your quality. You know, keep on. And that's all we got.
Thank you. Okay, so Councilmember Eric Zinowitz arrived, so I want to give you the floor. Welcome.
Thank you. And we got to take the mic because the people on Zoom.
But I've been at schools today and yesterday, so I'm like in teacher voice mode. Everyone. First, I actually want to start by thanking. It's civics week in the DOE schools this week, and I've been talking to students about civics, you know, rights and responsibilities. We spoke a lot about responsibilities and what it looks like to take care of your community. And board is one of the ways we show and we demonstrate we work to take care of the community. So thank you to all of the board members. A few updates. I've been talking about this through number like forever. And proud and excited that it is now enacted into law. So if you go to Eric NYC/301 dashboard, it's a link to the official dashboard, but you can now see the satisfaction survey results for all over New York City. You can disaggregate by borough, by community. And I think our report is 41.48, slightly above average. The world is that our city agencies accountable. You all have more data to see what the satisfaction rate is. What people are saying they call aggregation agencies. You may have seen tools or news from open parts that talking about that's really we were take home to the district last week. 256th Street and Avenue. That's something. So I think it's even time to talk about the commission. Here, we did a traffic study. And in 2 seconds, the first thing we see, I was able to legally elect her. And so the guy was waiting for like there to be space in between cars, so he could make his left turn. He did it and almost hit a pedestrian. And that was just, in 2 seconds. When you don't study in their traffic studies, how many times you run on another, how many times you almost hit a pedestrian. This week, which actually from stop signs. Yonkers. The traffic studies, and the traffic studies of cars. And rights sessions Friday mornings. So we can sell out to the NTA world. Services. Is for what considered as children's. So I'm encouraging to yes.
Thank you for holding that meeting with the DOT last week. I had a prior commitment and I couldn't be there. I live in North Riverdale. I know the situation. The streets are narrow, number one. I mean, just for two cars to pass each other on some of those streets, it's not easy. Number two, the sight lines at the corners are horrible because they're not squared off 90-degree angles. There are angles all over, and we definitely do need more attention from the DOT. And I've been complaining for a couple of years now about Broadway. The southbound traffic on Broadway, especially during the morning rush hour, is ridiculous. If there's anybody doing 25 miles an hour, they'd be rear-ended on Broadway. People run red lights all the time, and DOT has not done anything about it.
I think that, so I think regarding Broadway, the red lights, I think we requested red light cameras because of your inquiry. And the state approved and the city council, or the state allowed and the city council like implemented the amounts of red light cameras, which I'm a fan of, and I know to Ignacio Rodriguez, who's the commissioner, who went up to Albany personally to lobby for the speed cameras and the red light cameras. So we got more of the speed cameras, and I think more red light cameras. So we did request one at the intersections from them. And I think that's the importance, by the way, what you're talking about in the streets in the North Riverdale area. And the importance of having people from all over the district reaching out to our office and having local representation and local representatives to tell what we need. And I'll just share one thing. We had Streets Blog there. They were one of the reporters. And they said, well, why don't you jump around the streets? That's been proven to work. And anyone on the streets though, now or you will cause cars to crash. So we're going to continue pressing the DOT to do it, to get them stops and speed humps, and we'll follow on that red light at that intersection. Ed, you can
Stephen.
Congratulations on CARE 311.
Thank you. Bill in the package, Eric, it's like, and it's like,
well, the question I have about it though is, I think it's terrific. But you mentioned that different areas have different percentages of either satisfaction or dissatisfaction, I guess, with responses to 311 calls. What mechanisms are in place in case you have, a lot of dissatisfied people? From a public safety standpoint, we get a lot of noise complaints, and we receive a lot of complaints that their complaints are not being followed through properly. So I'm just curious as to what next steps would be taken if some of this still continues, even if it's law in place, or there are a lot of dissatisfied customers, so to speak, about.
Yeah, I think before this bill, before the data was public, I think a lot of these complaints, not all of them, a lot of the complaints were anecdotal. Like, oh, they called, oh, we didn't have this complaint, they didn't solve it, same rules, and you've got these kinds of calls. And so this data allows us to do what I think council tries to do really well, and community boards do, is hold our agencies accountable. And perhaps from the administration come or the hearings, we could say, you know what, you're saying you're doing all this work, and then somehow only, 20% of people actually think you're doing your job. So the transparency is to hold the agencies accountable. And I think Steve had his hand up, and.
Yeah, Councilman, I just mentioned that just before you arrived, Chuck Murphy called attention to the fact that there have been a number of instances of developers, homeowners who are doing work on the site, violating SNAD, and when the buildings department is called, they see nothing. And they have, photographic before and after evidence, kind of crazy, dramatic stuff. And Mr. Murphy was indicating that he wanted to get in touch with the district attorney and the investigations, but I also thought he should be able to go to the appropriate city council committee chair, not you, I don't think it's one of your committees, but to try to shine some light on this. Because if the DOB is not validating and enforcing, SNAD has no teeth.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm here to help with SNAD. In fact, we got the butcher of SNAD removed from that City of Yes proposal. I know that there is legislation, which allows you to attach a photo and video evidence to 301 complaints. And I think the housing one might be a little different, but it's a similar thing where you can supposed to be able to use photo evidence for certain types of inspections or investigations, because the DOB is not going to see what we see right away. But a before and after photo will indicate what was there. So I'm happy to work with you after the meeting on the SNAD issue, or Chuck.
Chuck,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rashida.
Thank you. Sorry, and thank you. So I'm looking at the CARE 311 package, and I'm wondering if, like, for the original 311 calls, particularly if there's like a complaint about garbage, usually you would send in the complaint, and if there's no address, like sometimes there's no address, but there's garbage. So then they would take the closest address and then say, okay, we found issue. With this new package, would you be allowed to make a complaint about garbage in an area that doesn't have an address?
I've got a bill for that. That's like I don't know, some sort of like infomercial TV thing. I've got a bill for that. And I've been saying it a lot. One of the bills I'm the prime co-sponsor on with Council Member Keith Powers is to have GPS location for 311 complaints. And you can think of it for garbage. I came across a person who was unhoused, and I was looking at the 311 app. It was like way between addresses. I couldn't, and that's, you're talking about someone's like health and safety on the street. And 311 was the way to get in touch, but there was no way to get an address. Now, luckily, I have the number from BronxWorks, but it shouldn't take a guy who has the cell phone number of the outreach coordinator to get services for someone who's suffering on the street. It's the same in the parks, right? Like if someone's, or, it doesn't even have to be as crazy as that. It's like, it's a tree fallen in the park on the path, and it's dangerous. Like, you should also be able to call 301 for that, and you can't because there's no address. So I have a number, it's GPS tagging.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Congrats. Thank you for the 311 updates. It's really important. I believe in it now. I'm actually inspired to call 311 and make a complaint.
Good, I'm glad.
Thanks. I did want to bring attention earlier. We had a public hearing and it was mentioned about businesses being, now that you have DOT's ear, being blocked away from, like customers coming in and everything like that on Broadway. You're familiar with all of that green scaffolding that's been blocking that street and
The MTA.
yes.
Yes.
So, are there any updates on what's good, like?
I gave, maybe I didn't give the location when I gave my update, so I apologize for that. At 242nd Street in Broadway, we have like room involved. I think MTA said something like 2 million years or something ridiculous like that. So first of all, I think it's very important that there's an elevator there. that accessibility is a priority. I think it's really critical they're building it there. However, you know, they kind of got to do it in a way that isn't impacting our businesses. And so we're looking at your future, myself and Assembly, along with the MTA and SBS, Small Business Services, to do a walkthrough there. So we can see firsthand how our businesses are suffering and see what sort of remedies there can be to make sure we're getting the accessibility without hurting our small businesses.
Yeah, putting the elevator on the park side has been brought up as a resolution to not blocking that corridor, that economic corridor, because the accessibility that people are looking for is to access our public parks. So it might be worth doing a study on moving the ADA elevator to the park side. So then you're not blocking the businesses, you're helping people get to where they need to go and not cross the street in a wheelchair or in a walker or with a carriage. So please, I'd love to see if that's something that we can invest in, just because getting it done isn't the point, it's getting it done right. And I think getting it done right is putting that ADA elevator on the park side.
Yeah, and I know, by the way, this board's been supporting this ADA project. I think there was a resolution passed years ago. I'm not sure if it was in your budget, because there's city budget and this is a state project. But it was certainly something that this board, I think I was on the board when we voted for it, supported in the past.
Very quick. Yes, I think it's very important. I've been trying to reach out to the various agencies and parks, et cetera. I think it's a very bad idea to have the elevator on the west side of Broadway. There may be some people who need to get up to Manhattan College, et cetera. But I believe that the vast majority of wheelchairs, walkers, baby strollers, and even golfers pulling carts will be going into the park. And to have them come out eventually on the west side of Broadway, have to go up a long, not well-protected block and try to cross Broadway there is a very bad idea. And this is gonna be there for 50 years. It should really.
Yes, all right, Kelly.
Good evening. David and, I'm sorry, Jessica. I'm sorry, Jessica. To your point, they do plan on installing an ADA elevator on the opposite side of the street. That was in the initial proposal that MTA presented. However, they indicated that they were starting with the west side of Broadway versus the east side of the Broadway. So there are plans to put an elevator on the opposite side. It was just that they deemed that the west side was more of a priority.
Two elevators.
Two elevators at the same time. Because they're serving different purposes, as you both alluded to.
Josh, is that your recollection of their presentation?
That is, that happened on my tenure. That happened during my tenure. Okay.
He got a presentation.
It's just 2 years before we see one, so I can't
One
imagine.
side.
It sounds like it's something that's easy to look up, easier and quicker to look up than discuss what we remember about it. So I'll leave it there. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. As always, reach out to my office, reach out directly to me, provide me feedback. I know what the community needs because you all tell me and communicate it. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Evan. Councilmember Phillips. Okay. So we're going to continue on with the committee reports. Stop the public safety. So we'll go to traffic and transportation. Josh. Is there a mic, Bob? Open the mic.
Meeting on March 7th, next Thursday. I would like to have the Bronx Borough Commissioner, Department of Community talk about which creates childhood asthma and all of the traffic buildup from the George Washington Bridge, I-87. If the committee have the regional plan, and if we could do a stormwater plan. So I'd like a pollution abatement plan. If anyone would be interested, that's Thursday at 7.
Thank you, Josh. Any questions? Okay, we'll go on to the next committee. You, Rhonda, are you ready?
Hey everyone, good evening. Our next meeting is Monday, March 17th. We have DYCD presenting on all programs around CB8. Thanks to Artie for helping connect that. We have Senator Jackson's office coming to present on the solutions, not suspensions bill that's being run through the Assembly and Senate. Just a few updates and deadlines coming up that I want to share with the community. SYEP, or Summer Youth Employment Program, was extended till this Friday. So if you have youth ages 14 to 24 that are looking for a summer job, please get them that application ASAP because it closes on Friday. And then last but not least, summarizing for K through 8 kids, that application for a free summer program through New York City Public Schools closes on March 28th. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rhonda. Any questions? Okay, we'll go on to the special committee on the Hudson River Drive.
So we met last month. The minutes have circulated. I just want to call attention to two particular items. There's an organization called NMTIC, New York Metropolitan Transportation Council. They're a part of the state DOT. They exist for regional transportation issues. They convened a Zoom meeting of officials from the city government, from the Bronx, from Yonkers, and from Westchester, primarily to review the 2018 feasibility study that was done by the MTA, or I should say under the auspices of the MTA, just to familiarize everybody with it, and some of the people in Yonkers and Westchester were not familiar with it, although the proposal for the Greenway does go up to Ludlow and Yonkers. And I'm happy to say there was, for the people who were hearing the first time in Yonkers and Westchester, there was a lot of enthusiasm, so that's very positive. The other, and again, it's NMTIC, the other issue, which is really the dominant issue at the moment, is that the MTA, and I've mentioned this before, the MTA has determined that it needs to fortify the Hudson River waterfront in Riverdale because of the rising river level and the risk that the Hudson Line tracks will be periodically flooded. So they are going to do something there. We don't know what it is yet, but NMTIC is trying to convene a meeting right now to bring the MTA to the table so that they can sit down and talk to us about where they are in their planning. We just want to make sure that they don't go ahead and do something without community input, because there's every reason to believe that whatever they do could also be part of the Greenway, could also be a foundation for the Greenway. Getting the MTA to the table is not the easiest thing to do, but NMTIC is working on it. As soon as I get word that something is possible, I will make sure that that the board office knows and everybody in the board knows. So that's where we are. Our next meeting will be when we have a reason to have the next meeting.
Thank you, Bob. Any questions? Thanks, Bob. Next committee is the Committee on Veterans Affairs.
On racial equity.
Committee on Veterans Affairs.
Yes.
Our next meeting is April 24th. We'll be discussing a few things. We'll be recognizing the official end of the Vietnam War and those community members who served and came home or should be honored for their service no matter what. One of the ways in which the community board is looking to recognize those individuals is that there is a park bench in Memorial Grove that it will receive a plaque recognizing the service during that conflict. So the parks, Van Cortlandt Park Alliance, they were essential in securing that plaque and securing the bench. So we're trying to work out a time when we can recognize that area of Memorial Grove and also do it in conjunction with parks. So we'll be discussing how we're going to recognize that event, and how we're going to be able to celebrate, this commemoration together in the community. We'll also be planning for the November Veterans Month. There's always an event, and it looks like it will be the first Sunday again of November. So we'll be planning on that. So in case anyone is interested in helping us plan that event, we'll also be discussing veterans benefits, and any other issues that come before those who have served. Then I can jump to Scree, if that's okay.
Marty has his hand.
Marty?
Okay, for Bob's report, today's electronic edition of the Bronx Press Review reported that DOT publicized, put out the Greenway report and what they plan to do with it.
Marty, I'm unclear on who it is who put out a Greenway report.
Bronx Press Review on its electronic report today made that announcement.
All right, I'll find it. I don't know anything about it, but thank you for telling me that, Marty. I appreciate it, and I'll find it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Report for the Special Committee on Racial Equity. We met this last Thursday. We had the Deputy Commissioner from the New York City Commission on Human Rights, and she presented on essentially what is protected under New York City law, municipal law, and how individuals can find out more information to ensure that they have equal protection under the law. That could be in any setting, that could be housing, that could be as an older adult, that could be someone who's visiting New York City, that could be a tourist, that could be a million different things. So it's a really comprehensive protection, municipal protection. So it's really helpful resources. Please refer to our minutes. There are multiple links there available to the community. And we also had a chance to discuss our Combating Hate resource guide and putting that into action. So those flyers have been posted in the community on social media, and we're just looking for alternative ways that we can make sure that information gets out to people in the community. So we want to be sure that individuals know how to access the resource guide. The New York City Commission on Human Rights is obviously a great resource. There's also a phone number that you can call during business hours and speak with a human being at the commission in case you need additional guidance, in case there's an incident, and in case you need direction on where to go. So that's an incredible opportunity that New York City provides. I'll also say that as the SCREE committee is concluding for the year, we have one more meeting this year in May. And just a reminder that we always come to all the standing committees and talk about the work that you all have been doing throughout the year. And we recognize that that equity-focused work in the district in our annual interim report. So any community board member, we'd love for you to contribute to that. Members of SCREE will be leading that process, but we're going to be working with our respective committees that we serve on. So just keep in mind all the work that you all have been doing. I heard many topics come up tonight. Make sure that those committees are recognized in this interim report. And we also wanted to discuss that during the budget process, as each of the standing committees are considering budget priorities for the year ahead, we'd love for you to, again, focus on equity. We are working on updating our equity map. So all of the budget priorities that go into the annual capital and expense priorities, we track them year over year. We've been tracking them since, I think, fiscal year 13 or 16. I think everybody else ignored that, so I'm just going to ignore that too. I still have 10 minutes left if I'm counting Mr. Murdner's presentation. So we'll be tracking the map again. We want to understand exactly where our priorities have been placed and what priorities have been completed. So again, as you are thinking about where your funding priorities, please keep that in mind, and we'll be sharing that updated information with all of you. The last thing that I'll mention is one of our objectives is to recognize that it starts with us, and that's sort of an extension of combating hate in the community, but it's also about living beyond the parameters of parliamentary procedure, which sometimes people acknowledge and sometimes people don't. And sometimes it makes for a difficult democratic discussion. If we can recognize that we have a way of communicating with each other and that we like each other as community members, we're trying to build an opportunity where we can break bread together and have a few facilitated conversations. Nothing, no pressure, nothing over the top, but just ways that we can continue to get to know each other and build a stronger community fabric within these four walls, so that we can carry it forward in the work that we do on our committees and within the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Any comments from Margaret, questions? Okay, thanks. The Irving Latimer Community Service Award Committee will be meeting on Thursday, March 13th, 7:30 p.m. at the Borough. The next committee, Budget, David Gilman.
Mike?
Just with respect to the Irving Latimer Community Service Award, the deadline for nominations is Friday, March 21st, which will be a week this Friday.
Thank you, Stephen.
As usual, be very quick. A quick review of the Bronxborough budget report for the upcoming fiscal year of 2026 shows that they took on no specific CBA items, and as expected with the submitted 23 capital and 30 expense budget requests, the report brought forward only 10 of the capital budget requests and only 5 of the expense budget requests. With respect to fiscal year 2027 cycle, the monthly committee agenda seem to show that it is a working agenda item as well as in the minutes. Therefore, it seems to be progressing well. And one good example is actually Parks. I saw in their minutes, they had their 5 and 5, but they also had like a secondary list of things to consider that they may want to discuss with the agencies or with elected officials. I think that's a very good approach. So again, here in March, the committees should be making an initial prioritization of your requests for finalization next month. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. In this section of the minutes, I just wanted to start, I had mentioned that the speaker that we had back in September at the exec who discussed the budget. I'm just going to put the link in this section of the minutes so that the board members, if you want to take a look at the video, you can get an idea of what you should be looking for discussing in your committee when it comes to the budget. Okay. So then from there, and then also Stephen, thank you for saying that about the Irving Latimer. For those on the Zoom who may not be aware of the Irving Latimer Award, it's an award given by the community board to recognize individuals or groups who have worked as volunteers to improve our community and have made a significant contribution to the quality of life and community rewarding. So if you know of anyone who you will want to nominate, please contact the board office or go on the website for information. Thank you again, Steve, for mentioning that. Okay, so then we will move on to, I always take yours. Okay, that's it, budget, and then miscellaneous. Say any miscellaneous information? I will just say, because I noticed that we have a few people here who are not on the board, community people, just to let you know, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the meeting, if you want more involvement in the meetings, the board meetings are usually for, representatives, different agencies and committee chairs to make reports. The community will have more involvement if you attend a committee meeting. Okay. Anyone else have anything they wish to say? The next meeting will be April 8th, 2025. Anyone motion to follow? Thank you, Nick. Nice seeing you. Motion to adjourn? Second. Good night, everybody.